I am Gowtham. I am just 51 years old young. And I have been working since last 35 years. Yeah, yes, you heard it right. At the age of 51, I think very few might be having a 35 years of rich experience. Is that so happened that when I lost my father, when I was 16 years old, I was rather forced to start work. In fact, without knowing myself, I started working at the age of 15 itself. That's what when my father was caught with a cancer and he was fighting with a cancer. And I used to go with him for the hospitals every day and to his work site. He was a pretty decent civil engineering and structural contractorship working. So as he was struggling between hospital and his site, so I used to accompany him, as I mentioned earlier, without knowing that I have started working. And that was the period, briefly, my studies were also halted. And this was the second time my studies were halted. When I was 11 or 12, at that point of period also, my studies were halted for an year and so for some other reason. And finally, when within a year of his cancer diagnosis, when cancer snatched him from us, and the reality of life, rather the cruelty of life, struck me and my family. And that's when I started to begin working, first and foremost to help myself to continue my studies and also to help my family. That's how my working life has started. And I started within a small chartered accountant firm as an office boy. And then within a finance company as a office assistant, daily collections, during this period, LIC agencies, and with a consumer durable organization, selling door-to-door the sewing machines. And the initial 7 to 8 years period after my dad's death was a struggleful year. And during this period, I completed my graduations as well. Post my graduation, I started to work as a sales executive with a publication company. That's when the corporate world, the so-called real corporate world, I started to work with. And since then, it was a never-ending journey. Then from publication company, I moved to a multinational blue chip FMCG organization, and then with oil and major organization, and now with most respected and reputed life insurance company since last 19 years. I joined this very life insurance company as a branch manager and grew to the sales senior vice president and regional manager role, which is continuing now. And that's how my life began, and that's how I built on my career. Well, obstacles, in my opinion, are inevitable part of both personal and professional life. As one crosses one hurdle, some or other hurdle will crop up as one progresses towards the success. And it is a continuous process, I believe. As far as how I overcame my obstacles, right from the beginning, I have a very clear defined my goals, what I want in my life and what I need to do for that. So I chalked out a very defined clear goals for myself, be it a professional or personal. But honestly speaking, personal was not at all at sight when I started my career. So it all was building myself on my own. So I defined a very clear goal. So after, as I mentioned earlier, my initial struggles of 7 or 8 years, with my discussion with some of well-wishers, I found this sales career would be the one which will take me to the greater heights. And that's how I choose to get into the sales career. And when it comes to the sales, it's always target, goals, and numbers. And when it comes to the numbers, of course, then one needs to have a very, very clear-cut planning. And that's how I define my goals, and I jotted down those goals on a piece of paper. I broke it in the pieces and set up a schedule also for those short-term goals, and ensure that during those period I achieve those goals. As and when, if I feel that if requires any modification, I never hesitate to do that. And the second lesson which I learned during this process is always seek advice from mentors, which I never hesitate to do. I always stay focused on my goals, come what may. You would have never came across any optimistic like me. I never gave up. And my initial days struggle taught me this lesson. Never ever gave up in the life. And of course, at the initial stage, mistakes and failures are bound to happen. I ensured that come what may, whether it is obstacles or failures, I will achieve my goals. And I stuck to that. I always try to keep positive attitude and outlook in my sales career. Whatever difficult I come across or challenges I face, I ensure that I will never ever give up. This helped me to stay motivated and focused in my goals. And apart from all these things, I ensure that I take care of myself physically, mentally, and emotionally with good exercising, getting enough sleep, and take breaks as and when it's required. I think these are few steps which help me to overcome obstacles in my professional life, especially. As far as professional challenge or obstacle which I overcame was when I shifted to oil and gas major organization from FMCG. Honestly speaking, when I joined this oil and gas major, I never thought that I am joining in parallel LPG marketing. I was thinking I was getting into the lubricant industry. But after joining, I realized that I have to go and launch the parallel LPG market in the country. And this is way back in 2000. And in 2000, the state agency was dominating the LPG market with highly subsidized price gas connections. And to launch our parallel LPG market, the private LPG market in the country, was a very, very daunting task. And that too competing with the highly subsidized state agency prices. And this is where my past experience from the FMCG major came in very, very handy in distribution channel management or in distribution setup, because here we'll have to start from the scratch. After initially identifying the gap, I understood that the potential exists there in the rural market and semi-urban market. Cooperative societies of those respective local localities to finance these connections, and we had a tie-up. So now from 2-tier setup, it has took a shape of 3-tier setup. A distributor at the district level to take care of the POS and dealers supply and service management, and the cooperative societies in the local areas to lend these customers to take the gas connection, and where they entered the tri-party agreement with the customer and with dealer, so that as and when if customer doesn't pay money, so they can take the connection, and then eventually they rotate it, and then they can take back their money. And this is how we launched our LPG connection in this market. But the task is again how to convince these people. And that's where my door-to-door sales experience with the sewing machine company. And during this FMCG tenure, we used to do some door-to-door campaign through third-party agencies in order to popularize some new products which we were launching. So I roped in a door-to-door campaign agency with 40, 50 women from that agency. They used to go and knock door-to-door in these villages and semi-urban places and explain about the benefits of having LPG gas stove and connections. The reason why specifically we choose women is because women, they can connect with a housewife very easily, and that's where tactically we roped in only women for this door-to-door selling. And these women used to start as early as 7:30 a.m. because we want that decision maker also to be at home when they are meeting this housewives. So we used to start as early as 7:30 a.m. at all these villages or in semi-urban places, and we used to go and we used to explain about this, and I used to oversee this entire operations. And the interesting part was, before we enter any market, or for that matter any villages or locations to do this, prior to that, 30 minutes before, a auto used to roam with the loudspeakers that such and such thing is coming, keep on making announcements. So that's how we launched this LPG domestic connections, and we made this entire operation a grand success. And mind you, this is after working within an FMCG major where we had an established brand. Rather, we were king and we used to rule the market. And after working there, going and doing this base work and establishing the organization was very, very daunting and challenging task. And I'm very happy today when I look back. It was a very, very rich learning experience. When I joined this FMCG major, it was a very, very well-established brand and very well-established distribution setup. There it was only to continue the legacy with taking care of both primary and secondary sales. So it was not a great challenge because the brand took care of the marketing part, and our job was only to ensure that stock keeping units are available at the POS point. So it was not a great challenge. But when I moved from FMCG to the oil and gas major, I explained already how I overcame those obstacles. So there it was a very, very challenging. But I must admit that working with that FMCG major was nothing less learning in a business school, of course, with the practical applications. Because of that experience only, I think I could establish in oil and major the parallel LPG sales. So FMCG was a great learning and training center. Actually, I got an opportunity to implement all those learnings in the oil and major organization I worked. Now, moving to insurance industry was a very, very calculated risk which I have taken. Way back 2003, that's when the life insurance industry was liberalized and many organizations were setting up their business in India. That's when I thought that moving into insurance industry will take me to the greater heights. And as I mentioned during my introduction, you would have noticed that I did work for a brief period as an LIC agent. So that experience which was there in my back of mind made me to switch industry quickly when industry came into India post-liberalization to set up their business. And that's how I got into the insurance industry. Honestly speaking, I don't believe that I have graduated to speak about gap in governance at this point of time. I will reserve that once I get into the boardroom. So I will try to answer this in a different way. Despite it's more than 20 years now, the insurance industry has been liberalized, but the penetration remains very low even today in our country. And this is one of my very, very favorite subject. Way back in 2001, if I am not wrong, the penetration was somewhere between 2.15%. And the latest report, I think 22 September, we were somewhere at 3.2%. So after 2 decades, an increase of just 1%, I feel it's very, very low. And in order to increase this penetration, I think both insurance companies as well as the regulatory body, they have a huge responsibility towards this country. First and foremost, education. Despite almost more than 24 companies in a fray, education about insurance or insurance awareness still lacks in our country. So I think both regulatory body and insurance company, they can come together and increase awareness about this. And also, insurance companies, I feel they should come out with more Indian customer-oriented products, specifically the micro insurance products, cheaper term insurance product. I feel this will help to increase the penetration in this country, and the very purpose of liberalization of insurance industry as objective will be met. Along with this insurance penetration in our country, the credit life insurance is very, very close to my heart and my interesting subject. Somehow I feel in our country, credit life insurance has been not taken rightly by Indian customers. Credit life insurance is a very, very interesting and very close to my heart. Somehow I feel our Indian people have not considered credit life insurance as one of a greatest risk mitigation instrument. Because in case any unfortunate event happens to the borrower, specifically when it comes to the home loan, the entire family stands on street, because the lender, either they will ask the money to be repaid in toto or hand over the home. And this is where the credit life plays a major role. In case any borrower, be it a home loan or vehicle loan or personal loan or agriculture loan, any form of loan, if it is covered through credit life insurance, in case of such kind of an unfortunate event, the life insurance companies pays back the entire credit to the lender, and the family can be with a peace. And I feel this area has been not taken seriously, both insurers as well as the lenders, as well as by the Indian customers. Because the moment we say insurance, our Indian customers, they think it's so-called that individual life insurance. So there is a greater need for create awareness for credit life by regulator and as well as the insurance industry is what I feel. Well, success. For me, success is personal fulfillment and satisfaction, such as having a happy and healthy life, healthy family life rather. And the end of the day, whatever we do it for family. And if one reaches to that contentment of life, I think that's success according to me. And if I have to tell you that whether I have achieved that, I will say yes. With a resounding yes, I will say yes, I have achieved. And as far as my suggestion to the younger generation is concerned, go step by step. Today's younger generation, they want to reach to the top the moment they get into their career. That's where is the issue. Because very well I can understand this. As a father of 4, so you might be shocking now when I'm saying I'm father of 4. Like my professional life, I have an equal amount of challenges in my personal life also. I have a lovely daughter and lovely son. And way back, 10 years back, for some or other reasons, my then wife, she decided to part away from me. And taking care of my daughter and son alone for 4 or 5 years. And I returned my daughter and son with me. And after 4 or 5 years, my daughter came and said that, Daddy, you should have a woman in your life. And my daughter and my son, they helped me to find out my second life partner. And she was also like me, that who lost her husband at very early young age. She had a daughter of same age of my daughter and son. And that's how my 2 kids have become 4 kids. I adopted that both of them also. Rather, now the 5th one I have adopted. The COVID took away my sister and my sister's husband back to back within 6 months. So I adopted their son also. So now I am a father of 5. So while discussing with them and talking to them, I understand that they are not willing to do that extra bit or the struggles which I have undergone in my periods, that everyone wants to reach to the top immediately. So my suggestion to the youngsters, because this is my experience for my kids, my suggestion is take step by step. Everything has a process. Specifically, learning has a process. And as I mentioned, all my rich experiences, which very clearly reflects that one has to go step by step in order to reach to the top level. So don't be in great hurry to grab the success. Today's youngsters are most pampered kids, and they want everything without any struggle. So if they understand this, and I'm sure, and I'm always proud of this young generation, they are not like my generation. They are very, very bright and very intelligent, and the entire world is in their hand. And they are ready to experiment also, which we never used to. So only thing is a little bit of slow down, taking things step by step. I think the youngsters can reach to the greater heights. As far as answer to this question is concerned, there are 2 persons who inspired me. One in my professional life and one in my personal life. When it comes to professional life, I will say Mr. Debashish Chowdhury, then national head when I was working with the oil and gas major. He was one of the greatest leaders from whom I learned patience, perseverance, specifically the listening skills. I never used to be a good listener till then. And from him, I learned the listening is part and parcel of communication. How to be a great listener, how to take team along with us, and how to break the goals, and how to focus on short-term goals, remaining focused on the long-term goals. If I start speaking about him, probably I can speak about him for a whole day. I don't think our time will permit for that. He was a great leader, and he had a great leadership skills and traits, because he never behaved with us as a manager or as a leader. He always focused on creation of second rung of leadership. He always used to say that a leader should always focus on keep on creating of second rung of leadership, so that there is no vacuum when the leader moves out of that space. And since then, I took that as a mantra. I always focus on creating leaders, because it's end of the day, leader has to create a leader. Coming to the second part of that question, that personally who inspired me, it is Sadhguru Jaggi Vasudev inspired me most. After attending all his classes, a new dimension, or rather a new dimension of life I understood. In fact, all his classes, teaching, preachings helped me to stabilize and brought me lot of not only patience, but lot of self-realization. The containment. Before that, I used to keep on running. What's next? What next? What next? But after practicing those meditations, a fulfillment and containment I have achieved. So he is the second most inspired person in my life, which has changed my life altogether. In fact, I must admit, after attending his sessions only, seriously, I started to look a second term of my life. And that's where my daughter suggested me to have a woman in my life. Thank you.